We are going to try to show you the process of taking a bridge plate out of a Martin guitar. 70s Martins have these massive rosewood bridge plates. I'll show you a picture of one in a minute. And if you can replace them with a smaller maple bridge plates, maple or black locust, even if you replace it with a smaller rosewood bridge plate, you know, high quality rosewood like a Brazilian, Amazon, Honduran, Madagascar, any kind of hot rosewood, that's better. You know, you don't need this big, huge, sound-killing Indian rosewood bridge plate. Some Indian rosewood is okay. You know, I've got some Indian rosewood. You tap it and it sounds pretty good. But on the whole, anything that's a hot rosewood or a maple or a black locust, Purple Heart, I mean, God, anything's better than Indian rosewood. But really, the size of it is the thing. Okay? It's a massive rosewood bridge plate. Replace it with something smaller. Guitar will sound livelier. Depending on what wood you use in the bridge plate, you can move the sound to make it bassier, treblier, snappier. You know, you got options there. You know, what do you want on the sound? I've got another video where I tap on bridge plates and I tap on bridge blanks to show you the difference in the sound. Any sound that you hear in a bridge itself, you will also hear on the bridge plate. Not quite as much, you know, because the saddle's not sitting on it, it's not transmitting straight to, but you got the ball ends resting on the bridge plate, and you will hear some sound difference. You know, the bridge is far more important than the plate, but it does have an effect. So I'm going to take this one out, and this is a 70s D-35, and things always come to me in pairs. I have two 70s D-35s here for identical stuff. I already took the bridge plate out on the other one, and as I was doing that, I thought, man, this would be fun to do. And I asked you guys, what do you want to see? And one of the things that came up was the bridge plate. So we're going to do this one. I don't know exactly how I'm going to film this because so much of it is me looking down here at a mirror and working with that. But maybe I'll take the camera and, you know, just stop it and show you what I'm looking at. Maybe I can do it with my helmet camera. The problem with the helmet camera, of course, is that I don't get instant feedback as to what I'm looking at, so it's hard to monitor the helmet camera. I'm only, you know, kind of sure what it's getting or not. So I'll test it out and see what we can do. All right, we're going to try. Okay, let's look over the tools I'm going to use to do this. First of all, the bridge plate is going to come out with heat, and I use that little hot plate over here that I used for the neck reset. It's just a Proctor Silex hot plate. Put these plates on. These are metal. I've got a variety of them. I had two friends make these actually one time. I asked for some help one time on one of the forums, and I had two guys make me these in a variety of sizes. First of all, let's start with this one. That's the one I started with. This is the Stu Mac tool, and it says Brown's Guitar Factory on it, but it comes from Stu Mac. This is a pretty good iron. The problem that I have with it is that it's screwed on right here, and after you heat it a million times, the screw will just come undone and it falls apart, and then you're dead in the water. It's a lot better to do this kind of deal where it's welded on. And this is also a lighter metal. It's aluminum. I think it's aluminum. I don't know. It's a light metal. This one's a light metal too. This is one of my custom made ones. I got a couple of light metals. This is a light metal one, a square one. And they heat up fast and they transfer heat fast, but they don't hold heat very well. So on the whole, I use the heavier metal ones. And these weigh twice what the lighter ones do. So the Stu Mac tool is pretty good if that's all you can get. I've worn out probably half a dozen of these before I got a friend to make me some good ones. This corner here is intended to go back into the bridge plate, but it's backwards. You see, the corner of the bridge plate goes over here on the bass side, and this one sticks off into the treble, so it's hard to get it off into the corners here. So I had my guy make one that was like that, and then I also had him make me one that was opposite. And this is the one I use because it sticks up here and it'll go back into this corner that's on the bass side. This part here goes very nicely over into the treble side. Works great. So the StewMac tool is backwards. And that's one of the things I asked right away, can the hole come in from the other side so that the tool would go like this? I don't use this one very much for that reason, Comes apart backwards. But there they are. So I've got these. Guy made, welded on. They got nice fat handles. Really good. I've used these hundreds of times. These are great. So I've got those. I got the two square ones. I use these square ones a lot. The square ones are great. You can get off into the corner by tilting it. You can go straight. You can go flat. These are really good. They hold a lot of heat. A lot of heat. I've got a light one. I've got a heavy one. I use the heavy one exclusively. I've got some of these that are just squares and little spots, and I just asked for these. Sometimes you got to reach in and hit a little spot to loosen it. And this is handy for that. I don't use it very much, but when I need it, it's great. And then I've got a couple of long ones like this. And again, I just asked the guys to build me some of these. I didn't know what I would use them for, but I had people willing to make me stuff. So I took advantage of it. These are kind of handy sometimes for working on frets. You can set them on the frets like this, and you can heat a couple of frets. What's going to happen, you're going to also loosen any inlays that are in there. But and they're really not as hot as a soldering iron. So I don't use them a lot for that purpose, but occasionally I will use them for heat some frets off or something. But the square ones work even better for that because you can get the whole fret, you see. So I don't use these very often, but when you need something like that, these are awesome. Okay? So those are my heating irons. And we'll go through those as I'm working on the guitar. The other thing, I got a lot of them. The other thing I use are chisels. These are hardware store chisels. This is one that's 1/4 of an inch, and I cut the handle off of it a long time ago. I cut the plastic off of it. I use this one quite a bit for bridge plates and for popsicle braces. Anything that I'm going to get in there and pry. I like this short handle, especially if you're working on an OM. Because an OM or a triple Out's got the shallower body, and you cannot do anything with this long handle here. You can't get that in the guitar. The little short dude here, you can get that in there. So I use this one a lot. 1/4 inch hardware store chisel. We'll talk about it as I work on it. A lot of times I don't go in like a chisel. I go in backwards, like a shaver. Go in there like that and pry stuff out gently. We'll talk about that. This is 1/4 of an inch. Maybe it's a little wider than 1/4 of an inch. Might be whatever it is. It's a small chisel. It started off from StewMac. It started off looking like this one from StewMac with a bend in it, except this bend went the other way. And I used it a lot like that. And the problem is that on small body triple Outs OMs, I still couldn't get the handle in there. I could have cut the handle off or something, but I just decided one day to have my son heat it up for me and straighten it out a little bit. And now I like it a lot better. It kind of goes in like this, and I can pry like this. I use this for popsicle braces and bridge plates both, and you'll see. Here's a right angle one that I still use. I use this one mostly for popsicle braces, where it's real handy to come in and use it as a scraper. I almost never use it as a pry tool or anything. But if I've got just like a little piece of spruce in there hanging on, or a little bit of bridge plate even, I can come in and scrape a little bit. I like this one flat because I like to set it on the top like this, and I can feel it, and I'll just pull it very gently and scrape away. I also cut the handle off. It used to be egg-shaped like this the whole way, and this would get in the way of the braces where you couldn't get to it. So I cut that off, and now it's flat. It goes in a lot flatter now. I use this one. Not so much for bridge plates, but it's handy to have around. Any tool that you have sitting around, you can find a use for it. Like people ask me, what tool do I use? I got so many, a variety of tools, and I use Some of them like 90% of the time, but when I need that different tool, then I really need it. Oh yeah, the handle in this was wood, and I just reshaped it. I made it with the friendly plastic. You can Google it. Friendly plastic. You heat it up in water. You can use it to shape stuff. And what I wanted was a longer, thinner handle, so that again it's flat on top, and I can reach in like this if I need to. So I can extend that handle. Once in a while I need to do that. So we'll use these tools. I'll show you how we do. I'll show you how I use them once I get going on them. But I wanted to explain them a little bit here before we start, because once this thing gets rolling, I don't have time to stop and talk about stuff. Alright, here we go. So this guitar is prepped. Now to do a bridge plate, first thing I like to do is I like to take the bridge off, because there's going to be a lot of heat coming up, and you'll see I'm going to lay cold, damp wash rags over this to absorb the heat, and it's just so much better if I can lay that thing flat over the top and not have to worry about heating the bridge up or anything like that. It also gives me more control over the center seam. The most dangerous thing that's going to happen here is the center seam is going to come apart because the guitar is dry, and the heat coming up there loosens the glue bond on the center, and the center seam will split a little bit. You can fix all that, but you want to try to avoid it in the first place. I would say that these days, back when I first did this, probably 1 in 5 would split, and I'd have to, fix it. Now that I've changed my technique a little bit, I'd say probably 1 in 25 will come apart a little bit. It's so much easier to work on, so much easier to fix, so much easier to prevent if you have the bridge off. Plus, this bridge has been shaved, it's cracked, it's in the wrong place, so the bridge is going to have to go anyways. It's going to get scooted, replaced, wider spacing, everything, so bridge is coming off anyways. This is true of both D-35. They're exactly the same problems. This guitar also has a loose X brace. It's got a hump right here that I saw immediately. I said a loose X brace, and I found it. That's going to be so much easier to fix with the bridge plate out of there. Okay? This is like I like to start with. Now, so the first thing I'm going to do with this guitar is take a big old sponge, big fat thick kitchen sponge. I'm going to soak it in water over here, and then I'm going to lay it on the bridge plate. And you can see this sponge, I want it pretty wet. Pretty wet. This sponge is shaped roughly like a bridge plate, with this angle up here and that sort of thing. I just cut it off with a pair of scissors. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to stick it in here, and I'm going to maneuver it around, and I'm going to get it on the bridge plate. The reason I'm doing this, 2 reasons, 3 reasons maybe. You got to feel, Okay, I've got to sit it on the bridge plate. It's not propped up on the braces. It is touching the braces, but it's not propped up on them. That sponge fits in there pretty good. I'm going to squeeze it just a little bit. I'm going to drip some water onto that bridge plate. Now, I'm going to lay the guitar flat, like that, so that all water will drip down onto that bridge plate. The reason I'm doing this is a couple of reasons. Number one, let that water soak in for, I like to do it overnight, but I'm going to rush this one a little bit. I'm going to leave it for a couple of hours. I like to let that water soak into the plate, and it will help soften the glue that's holding the bridge plate on. Second reason I'm going to do it is when I hit it with heat, it's going to cause steam to come up through the bridge plate, and that's also going to help loosen the glue. And the third reason that I like to do it is because when you get the moisture in there like that and you send the steam up, you're less likely to get a top split. The top split happens because the guitar is dry, you heat it up, the glue weakens, and the guitar wants to come apart. So by introducing some humidity in there now, I've ensured that that top has got some humidity into it. And since I've been doing that, I've had so much less issue with the top seam splitting. I will tell you this too, that the bridge plate removal is the single most dangerous thing that I do. People are sometimes say, oh, neck reset is dangerous. Think out a neck reset is a walk in the park compared to getting a big bridge plate out. The problems that's going to happen is with the top split, you may sometimes, again, 1 out of 20, 20 out of 25, the finish will bubble from the heat coming up. Most bridge plates come out pretty well. Some of them, resist. And resistance is futile. You will come out. But the amount of heat that it takes will bubble the finish a little bit behind the bridge plate. And there's just nothing you can do about that. You can spray it with lacquer melt and you can make it go down a little bit, but you just cannot fully cure it. So I do try to make everyone aware of this, that this is the single most riskiest thing that I do. This guitar is beat up, it's got scratches, it's got finish checks, it's, you know, it's worth it. But when I get to a guitar that's pristine, you know, you really got to think twice about just ripping the bridge plate out. And another thing about taking it out, you never know what the finish is going to be. Some finishes are just amazingly resilient to heat. Some finishes, you can just look at them wrong and they blister. So, it's a risk, okay? It's a risk you got to take. There may also be a little bit of discoloration from the rosewood steam rising up to the top. And that usually goes away if you just leave it alone for overnight or a day or two or whatever, you know. The moisture will come back down out of the top and that color will go away generally. There's risks, okay? It is the single most riskiest thing I do. I don't recommend necessarily that you start doing this unless you are willing to run the risk. Alright, I'm going to let this sit for a little while and then we will come back with the camera and I'll show you what the next steps will be. While this is sitting, I have got 2 wash rags in the freezer. They're damp, they're pretty damp, and they're in the freezer, they're folded flat, and then they're getting cold and frozen up. So they're going to be ready to go. I'll show you those when we come back. So, all right, we'll see you. Okay, here we go. I've got my irons over here. My irons on the fire. And they're getting hot. While they're getting hot, I'm going to work on the cutting a slot in the bridge plate. I'm taking my sponge out. Set it over there. Here's my GoPro. And I tested this, you know, and it looked pretty good. So let's give it a shot and see if it works. I've never done this before. But if I angle it right up at the bridge plate, it seems like it did a pretty good job on it. Okay, I need this. Now, mirror off. Got a mirror. You get these from Sumac in. Cut them up in pieces, sizes you want. Put the mirror in the bottom. GoPro ought to be getting all this now. Sumac light. I like it pretty bright. Goes in. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to take this chisel and this chisel, and I'm going to cut a slot in the bridge plate, and we'll transfer over to the GoPro when we get this, and I'll show you the footage. The video from the GoPro is probably going to be pretty boomy because it's inside the guitar, so we're just going to have to kind of adapt with that. Okay, any of you guys want to send me professional filming equipment, feel free to do that. I'm going to take this 1/4 inch chisel and I'm going to cut a groove in the bridge plate. So here we go. The reason for that is so that I can remove the bridge plate in pieces. And also, I'm going to cut that groove pretty much right along the center seam right here so I can get the heat off of the center seam as fast as possible. I used to cut the bridge plate into 3 pieces. So here's a bridge plate. I cut a V and I take the V out of the middle. And over time I found out that I can do pretty good with just a single slot. So here we go. Probably going to transfer you to the GoPro right about now. And you can see me in there. Hi there.
Okay, the trick to using this, or at least my approach, is not to cut a slot like this necessarily, but I angle the chisel over like this and I cut a V groove in it. And it's just easier to cut that way. You don't need a wide slot. You just need to break the bridge plate in half, basically. And the instant that I see the spruce peeking through the bridge plate, I stop. Because you're going to be able to break the bridge plate. It doesn't have to be cut completely clean.
Okay, the trick to using this, or at least my approach, is not to cut a slot like this necessarily, but I angle the chisel over like this and I cut a V groove in it. And it's just easier to cut that way. You don't need a wide slot. You need to break the bridge plate in half, basically. And the instant that I see the spruce peeking through the bridge plate, I stop. Because you're going to be able to break the bridge plate. It doesn't have to be cut completely clean. Okay, I've got my slot cut and the irons are heating up, and I'm going to run into the house now and I'm going to get my washcloth, and then when I come back we will get this going. I'm going to leave the GoPro going, and it is going. Hi there, little GoPro. So I'll be back in just a minute. I'm back. Here's my washcloths. They've been in the freezer for quite a while, so they're very hot right now. Very cold. I don't think of that and said hot. They're actually a little too stiff right now. I need to let them thaw out. So I'm going to set them over here. Let them thaw for a minute. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about the process here. What I'm expecting to see, because as it happens fast. First of all, I'm going to use a clamp. And you'll see this in the GoPro, which I hope. It's on there. Hi, GoPro. I'm going to use this to hold the bridge iron up. That way I don't have to sit there and do it. I don't have to hold my hand in there. And I can stand out here and I can watch stuff. I like to use hot, fast. I don't like to use warm, slow. I've just had better results hitting it with a lot of heat, very fast, and getting the bridge plate out of there than I have letting it sit and heat and heat and heat and heat and heat. Slowly soften the glue. Transfer the heat over to the top. I don't have good success doing that. My best success has been a lot of heat, very fast. So I'm waiting for these to get warmed up, and then I'm waiting for this to thaw. That's getting warm. That's getting warm. This is getting warm, and then we're gonna rock and roll on this thing. Okay, there's gonna be smoke coming out of it, and I will clean that up. I'll let this warm up as it's on there. It is, top of the guitar. The first part of the bridge plate is pretty straightforward. The dangerous part is this corner back here. This part will come out pretty clean. The part that's over here on the base side is going to be the most difficult part. That's where the heat damage always occurs. I never have heat damage on the front. So I'm going to set this on here. I might just get my hair dryer. Normally I'd play my mandolin or something while this happened, but the camera's rolling. Let's get it done. Turn this on. It's just stiff and inflexible right now. Well, you know, you can use other things. I've tried using gel packs. I've tried using a variety of things, but the problem is you get too thick up here on the top and you can't get the clamps in there. And I want the clamps flexible. I want to be able to get that clamp out of there right now if I need to. I don't want to put like a scissor jack in there or anything like that. Anything that's going to be slow to get out of there. There's times when I want that clamp out right now. Okay, so there we go. Now it's molding down to the top. It's cold. And I'm going to start with, the square one here. And here we go. Transfer to the GoPro.
I'm going to start with the square one here. And here we go. Transfer to the GoPro. Okay, I'm going to get that clamped up in the corner like that, and I'm going to let it heat. The bridge plate is nice and wet, and so I'm just applying heat to this. Going to see what happens. It'd be nice if it would smoke a little bit, but it's not yet. That's okay, you know. When it's smoking, then I know it's hot enough. Right now, I'm not sure. These hot plates have a deal where they don't just heat. They heat up and then they cool down. And they heat up and they cool down. And here we go. Now I'm watching the moisture go away on the top, so I know on the bridge plate. So I know that it's getting warm. So here we go. I'm going to give it a try.
The bridge plate is nice and wet, and so I'm just applying heat to this. Going to see what happens. It'd be nice if it would smoke a little bit, but it's not yet. That's okay, you know. When it's smoking, then I know it's hot enough. Right now, I'm not sure. These hot plates have a deal where they don't just heat. They heat up and then they cool down, and they heat up and they cool down. And here we go. Now I'm watching the moisture go away on the top, so I know on the bridge plate. So I know that it's getting warm. So here we go. I'm going to give it a try. Nice.
There's the smoke coming off of this one. And you can see it steaming out from behind the plate, so I know it's blowing steam out that way. When I got smoke in there like that, I get a vacuum.
coming out really nice. Now we're going to go to the base side, and I'm going to go ahead and flip the wash rag over, and I got a little bit of heat there. Flip the wash rag over. Get that. Now I'm going to use this one. Go back into that corner. Now, you gotta watch this thing as you pull. It should come up slowly. Put a little pressure. Don't push it too hard. I want just a little bit more heat on that one. I'm not gonna bother with the clamp. I'm gonna hold it. I'm going to go with the clamp, and I'm going to leave it for just a little bit until it starts smoking just a bit. It needs a little bit more to come off. Let me see if that'll do it. There we go. I'm going to go with the clamp, and I'm going to leave it for just a little bit until it starts smoking just a bit. It needs a little bit more to come off. Let me see if that'll do it. There we go. Okay, as soon as the plate's out, I'm going to go in with a little bit of a damp paper towel, and I'm just going to cool that off as fast as I can, just in case it's hot at all. It doesn't feel hot. Okay, I just want to get that top cooled down. Got a little bit of heat damage here. back in that corner, man. That's rare. It's not bad. It's settling down already, so it's just a little bit of a blistering sort of thing. That's the one that was smoking bad, and sometimes there'd be a pitch pocket or something in the bridge plate where you hit a spot where it'll really smoke, and you think, man, maybe it's got some sap or a little bit of extra moisture in there, or something like that, and that'll cause some issues. And like I said, it is the most dangerous thing that I do. The maple plates come out so much cleaner because they don't have all that smoking and everything that the rosewood plates do. So what I'm doing now is I'm just cooling the top down right there, and I'm trying to push that lacquer down right now. It's going to go down pretty good, especially after it dries. And I might come in and put just a little bit of this on there, the glue boost. I might puncture these little things and drop it just a little bit in there and clean it up a bit. But okay, so that's a bridge plate. Top separated a little bit too. This guitar had all of the problems and all the good things. The plate came out really clean and fast. I didn't have any issues there. There it is. So let's just assemble the plate here. There's another piece somewhere. But I cut this V down the middle of it. Cut that slit, and then I took it apart in 3 or 4 pieces. Okay. Now there it is, the missing piece. So there's your big massive bridge plate. Now the thing to do is just let it sit for a little while and get everything, dried out and everything. I will go ahead and fix that loose brace. And you know what, since we got the camera in there, let's just go ahead and do that. Turn that off, turn that off. I'll get you just a little bit of how to identify the loose brace. I got these little feeler gauges. And we'll transfer to the GoPro. Gauges. We'll transfer to the GoPro. Glue. My glue. This clamp with these little useful claws on top. I'm going to catch that brace. Mirror is the greatest thing in the world here. And then I'm going to use a piece of wood like this that's a little long, and it'll help clamp it on top. I might even use 2 clamps on this. We'll see. Let's see. It's just got a short section loose right there.
mirror is the greatest thing in the world here. And then I'm going to use a piece of wood like this that's a little long and it'll help clamp it on top. I might even use 2 clamps on this. Let's see. Let's see. It's just got a short section of use right there. And I want to see some glue squeeze out. And boom, I did. Got balance on there. Down good, and there we go. Looks good. I see good glue squeeze out, and I'm going to let that sit for quite a while now. Well, I've got to cut my new bridge plate. And I want to see some glue squeeze out, and boom, I did. Get that balanced on there. Down good, and there we go. Looks good. I see good glue squeeze out, and I'm going to let that sit for quite a while now. Well, I've got to cut my new bridge plate and put it in there.